So it was. From that time on, half of my servants worked at construction. The other half held the spears, the shields, the bows, and wore armor. Okay, it's got them. You're on detail today, buddy, and you're on the construction crew today. Okay, splitting you guys in half, doing shift work over here is what we're doing. Okay, and the leaders were behind all the house of Judah. Verse 17 says, those who built on the wall and those who carried burdens loaded themselves so that with one hand they worked at construction and with the other they held a weapon. Now, this is what I have always said to be a picture of the last day's worker, the last day's warrior. Remember, a worker and a warrior. Well balanced, okay? Those who built on the wall. Remember, the wall was up about half height. So they're continuing the work. The outline or the framing for the doors, for the gates, are already set in place. The gates have not been hung yet. The work is not even close to being finished. Still a lot of work to do. But the people are working. And in verse 17, I think we get a great picture of the last day's warrior. Look at this guy. Those who built on the wall and those who carried burdens. I mean, somebody's got to take the cement up the ladder. Loaded themselves so that with one hand they worked at construction, and with the other they held a weapon. Oh, I mean, you can't do a lot of work if you only have a hammer in one hand and that you have a sword in the other. But you get the picture. They were ready for everything. These guys were builders and these guys were warriors at the same time. It wasn't just all about war. It wasn't just all about the battle. And it wasn't just about ministry. It was a balance that they had, that they were able to bring to the work, to the vision that God had for them. Because their purpose was wrapped up in the vision that God had for them. And they're getting it done. What Nehemiah did in verse 16 is he split his workers, his servants, but the other ones who are building the wall, I mean, they have a trawl in one hand and they have a sword in the other hand. They're ready for whatever comes. We're working and we have it, but if something happens, we're ready for that too. Those who built on the wall and those who carried burdens loaded themselves so that with one hand they worked at construction and with the other they held a weapon. Now, for you artists that are out there, that's a picture you can, I mean, there's a picture right over there. Somebody could, that's not my thing. I can't even make a logo. Black and white, they laugh at me when I do stuff. I can't sing, I can't draw, okay? Every one of the builders had his sword girded at his side as he built. Now you really get to what's going on. And the one who sounded the trumpet was beside me. We got somebody with a trumpet. And Nehemiah says, son, you're staying right here with me. You follow me around. Wherever I go, you go. Every one of the builders had his sword girded at his side as he built. That's the trawl in one hand and the sword in the other. And the one who sounded the trumpet was beside me. Then I said to the nobles, the rulers, and the rest of the people. He's reassuring the people. Okay, we've heard all the threats against us. We've heard everything, the trash talking. We've heard it. Okay, and we're doing something about it. I'm not so sure Nehemiah was doing all this extra stuff because he was so afraid of Sanballat. I think he was more afraid of the people losing faith. Then I said to the nobles, the rulers, and the rest of the people, the work is great and extensive, and we are separated far from one another on the wall. wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally to us there. Our God will fight for us. He says, if it is a clear and present danger, if it is a possibility that Sanballat and these other guys can come from us at any way, they tell us 10 times, from whatever place you turn, if that's really true, we're ready for them. But we're going to work. And we're going to have our sword at the side. And then we're going to have a herald. We're going to have one who has the trumpet alongside him, at his lips. Ready, ready, ready. And if something happens when you hear it, that's the place that we want you to run to. Wherever you hear. I mean, this was not just a little wall around a house or around a little neighborhood. This is around a city. The work is great and extensive. He's not minimizing the job that they have in front of them. They've done a great job, but it's not finished. He says there's still a lot of rubble. There's still a lot of stones that has to be put. There's gates. The work is great and extensive. It's valuable. It's worth. It has value in God's eyes, or he would have never sent him to do it. The work is great and extensive, and we are separated far from one another on the wall. We all have our places along the wall. We're all getting our job done. And sometimes I can't even see all of you guys, but I can hear. But you'll be able to hear the trumpet. I can hear you, breaking those rocks, those blocks, making sure that they fit just right. I'm right there with you doing the same thing. But if you hear the trumpet, wherever you hear the sound of the trumpet, rally to us there. Our God will fight for us. So he had a plan for the people to remain vigilant at their work, but also with a one eye. This would like be saying, you got one eye on the job and one eye on the enemy. And that's what was going on. So we labored. Oh yeah. So we worked. So we labored in the work. Half of the men held the spears from daybreak until the stars appeared. So he says, I had half of my guys. There they are, walking around. They're sentries along the wall. They're looking out over to make sure, like the old Western fort movie, they're out over there, looking out there, see where the enemy's going to come from. They held the spears from daybreak until the stars appeared. From, what would it be? From dawn until dusk. They held the spears. At the same time, I also said to the people, let each man and his servant stay at night in Jerusalem, that they may be our guard by night and a working party by day. So I think we're wasting too much time by leaving early and going home and then traveling in and starting late. He says, why don't we just all stay here? I have a plan. Let's be efficient in the work that we're doing. It was only going to take him, and we'll find out here in a little while, as we continue on verse by verse, chapter by chapter, we'll see that we're not talking about years that it was taking us to get this job done. Us, you notice how he said us. At the same time, I also said to the people, let each man and his servant stay at night in Jerusalem, that they may be our guard by night and a working party by day. So he says, if we stay here and we keep an eye on everything that's going on at night, we'll be ready in the morning. So neither I, my brethren, my servants, nor the men of the guard who followed me took off our clothes, except that everyone took them off for washing. We have a plan, and we're being as efficient as we can in this season. It was a season that they were going to go through.